HarperCollins and Harper Audio present Confirmation Bias: Inside Washington's War Over the Supreme Court, From Scalia's Death to Justice Kavanaugh, by Carl Hulse. Read by Fred Sanders. A note before we begin. Don't forget to download the accompanying enhancement PDF for notes on sources from your audiobook provider, or go direct to www.harpercollins.com/audio/confirmation bias. It is not easy to conceive a plan better calculated than this to promote a judicious choice of men for filling the offices of the Union. Alexander Hamilton, Federalist No. 76, on the Senate's Role of Advice and Consent. Chapter 1. Calling the Play. On January 5, 2017, 2 weeks before Donald J. Trump would be sworn in following his astonishing election as president, a select group of the incoming administration's most senior officials gathered in a secure room in the presidential transition headquarters in an office building not far from the White House Trump would soon occupy. They were casually going about their business to avoid attracting too much attention. On hand were the Vice President-elect, Mike Pence, and his counsel, Mark Paoletta, Trump's strategist, Steve Bannon, the incoming Chief of Staff, Reince Priebus, and the incoming White House counsel, Don McGahn. They would spend much of that day interviewing the finalists for a Supreme Court vacancy that had been instrumental in Trump's defeat over Hillary Clinton, an outcome few saw coming. It was time to cash in on that stunning victory and fill the empty seat as quickly as possible once the administration took office on January 20th. The court opening had given conservative Christian voters and other skeptical Republicans a reason to back Trump, despite his well-documented character flaws and their own doubts about him. With the seat in mind, they had sent to the White House an inexperienced and unpredictable man whom most of the country and world knew as a brash reality television celebrity. Now his presidency was about to become a reality, and the Supreme Court would be among the first institutions to feel the impact. Picking a Supreme Court nominee is usually a complicated, time-consuming process that involves a close review of the nominee's record and writings, along with background checks, interviews, consultations with advocacy groups, and intense internal debate. But the Trump team had been weighing this vacancy for some time. The seat had been open for nearly a year because of an extraordinary campaign mounted by Senate Republicans, led by Mitch McConnell, the majority leader, to prevent President Barack Obama from placing his own nominee, Merrick Garland, on the court. What's more, in May 2016, candidate Trump had taken the unprecedented step of disclosing a list of his potential Supreme Court nominees, and then pledged to choose from only that list. It was another first in a campaign full of them. So the Trump insiders already had a good idea of whom they would recommend to the new president. 5 top-tier conservative judges were interviewed that day. But as the final candidate entered the room, everyone present was nearly certain that they were about to question the next justice of the U.S. Supreme Court, Neil M. Gorsuch, age 49, a federal appeals court judge in Colorado. To them, he had emerged as the right man to fill the seat, if not the shoes, of the revered Antonin G. Scalia, the justice whose death in early 2016 had touched off the whole political drama. What not everyone in that nondescript room knew was that a few of them saw this as the initial step in filling not one Supreme Court seat, but 2. They believed that Justice Anthony M. Kennedy, the 80-year-old swing vote on the court, could soon be encouraged to step down, creating a second vacancy. McGahn was among them, and he had already made up his mind about the pick for the Kennedy opening and confided in Bannon. It would be Brett M. Kavanaugh, 51, a member of the highly influential U.S. Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia Circuit, and a fixture in Washington's Republican political and legal circles. It was Gorsuch and
Sample complete. Ready to continue?